All right, Miss Choate, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born near Baywood, Virginia, in 1909. My parents were James and Lucinda GREER. And my grandmother was a slave. Yes, my grandmother was a slave. My mother was white people raised her from a child up to her marriage. She was raised in North Carolina. Now, where'd I go from there?
How did it happen that white people raised your mother? How did that happen?
My grandmother was a slave, and she lived with these people. And she died, and my mother was a little girl about 10, 11 years old. And these white people kept her and raised her. She even went to school. She had she could read very well and count too. But I had 3 sisters and 7 brothers. And there's only 2 of us living. And of course I only have public school, I guess you would call it, education. I finished the 7th grade, and that was as far as they taught those days. They had high schools, of course, in Sparta, but they were not open to black people. So I finished the 7th grade when I was 13 years old. And that's as far as I got with school. But I did a lot of reading in my time. I did a lot of reading. My mother and my father, too, would bring newspapers home from the places where they worked. And I would read the news to them until they got where they could able to subscribe to a magazine or a newspaper, something like that. But I was the reader. They said the reason I read so well, I didn't like to wash dishes. I could always find something interesting to read at dishwashing time. So I kept up my reading pretty good. Let's see, I married in the year of 1933. And we have 1 child, and she's in Chicago. So it's just the 2 of us here alone. My husband was raised down in North Carolina, but I was raised practically in Virginia. But we moved to North Carolina. Oh, I think it was the year of 21.